Ladies and gentlemen, we now know who Raiders owner Mark Davis is consulting with on his next head coaching decision. Should we be worried as fans? Things get worse for Josh McDaniels. His own friend Dave Ziegler is turning on him. All that and more will be discussed. Guys, I have a huge announcement right now. If you enjoyed that last film, that hour-long documentary on the Josh McDaniels era, well, we'll be releasing more films on our other channel, Wi-Fi Films. We cover so much news on this channel, we're too busy, so if you want high-quality documentaries like that last one, make sure you subscribe to Wi-Fi Films. The link is in the pinned comment below, and that's where the films are gonna go. But we'll still be doing our favorite news stories on this channel, including the Raiders and other teams around the NFL, so make sure you subscribe. When two people are fired as a pair, people always want to clean up their resume, make sure that all the bad decisions aren't pinned on themselves, and it seems like this is what former GM Dave Ziegler is now doing through the media. You have some stories coming out about their disagreements. The gist of this story is that Josh McDaniels wanted to trade up for Bryce Young, while general manager Dave Ziegler wanted to trade up for CJ Stroud. Now, this is just a reporter from SI Now saying this. We don't know if this is exactly true, but obviously this makes Dave Ziegler look a lot brighter than Josh McDaniels here. You also have another story allegedly that Saint Dave Ziegler did not want Jimmy Garoppolo, who's been a huge disappointment, and it was actually McDaniels who pushed to sign Garoppolo, and Ziegler said it would be a terrible decision. So general manager Dave Ziegler is just such a great guy trying to make the right choices, and even though he's best friends with Josh McDaniels going all the way back to college.
Everybody knows you went to John Carroll University with Josh McDaniels, very well reported.
It was a good experience going through it with Josh. Obviously, we've known each other for a long time, but it was a cool experience too to do it together.
Even though they were signed as a package deal together coming from New England, we are supposed to believe that Dave Ziegler is blameless and this is all on Genius Josh. So look, take all these leaks with a grain of salt. Where are they coming from? Likely Ziegler's camp. And it does seem kind of wicked and two-faced and cold for him to even backstab his old friend and blame these decisions on him just to make his resume look a little better in the future. But we all know it's a cold world. And Michael Lombardi, the dad of offensive coordinator Mick Lombardi, he's in the news again explaining what went wrong in the Josh McDaniels era. We know this guy's been polishing the turds of all of Josh McDaniels' decision while he was with the Raiders. And of course, nothing is ever Josh McDaniels' fault. You should check this out on RaidersBeat.com. Michael Lombardi has the nerve to not even blame coaching as part of the problem. He's blaming the roster. He's blaming GM decisions. He's saying the Chandler Jones thing didn't work out. The Tyree Wilson thing didn't work out. He's criticizing that they prioritize trading and getting a great wide receiver when that's the last position you should figure out. So essentially, Michael Lombardi, who's always covering for Josh McDaniels because he employed his son, he's blaming the roster and he's blaming some of the roster decisions. Seems like McDaniels' camp is now sort of putting it all on Dave Ziegler. Looks like that's why you'd never do business with your friends. But the Raiders are moving on to the future and they have a real opportunity here right now with Antonio Pierce as the interim head coach. Many believe this guy will get every opportunity to become a longtime head coach, and we've also learned a lot more about Mark Davis's mindset, who he's listening to on his next decision for GM and head coach. I always pay attention to media hype, and you have Fox Sports and numerous outlets hyping up Antonio Pierce. He's now going to be coaching on primetime Sunday Night Football against the New York Jets. I think the league and a lot of people want to see this guy be successful. The Raiders seem rejuvenated under Antonio Pierce should he get his interim tag removed. You have the media, Michael Irvin, Skip Bayless. These guys are hyping this guy, trying to say that he could be the future. It almost seems to me like the league and Mark Davis's camp wants this to work out, wants the fans to buy in. Obviously, the easiest way for the fans to buy in is for them to win a lot of games. But what was more telling to me is what the president of the Raiders said on social media, Sandra Douglas Morgan. Many people are taking stock of the fact that the Raiders are making history right now with a black head coach, black general manager, and a black team president. And you had some criticism on social media from people that Sandra Douglas Morgan did respond to. You have this woman who's apparently a doctor and a K-12 educator. You had this lady sort of saying, what's the point of black leadership if they're doing the same thing as others with how they treat players? players, and you had Sandra Douglas Morgan. Even though she's a president of a billion-dollar enterprise like the Raiders, well, she went off on Twitter here and responded to this woman and said they've been in their positions for less than 1 week, and you're saying they do everything the same as others. You have nothing to support that statement and clearly don't know anything about the Raiders. Do better. We know football is a tough sport. We heard reports about Josh McDaniels, how he overworked players, 2-a-day practices, not leading to good results. Seems like people are wondering, is Pierce going to be the same way, or is he going to be a little lighter on players in terms of treatment? Time will tell. And now it comes to the big enchilada. What is going to happen with Mark Davis, with the Raiders? Who is he listening to? Jonathan Jones of CBS NFL Insider is letting us know who Mark Davis is going to listen to.
Sources tell me Mark Davis is expected to rely on team executives and would-be partial owner Tom Brady for advice on who to lead the team. After a package deal last time, Davis will likely hire a GM first and then a player-centric head coach after the season.
So it looks like Tom Brady is going to be in Mark Davis's ear, even though he has not purchased his minority stake in the Raiders yet. Remember, Mark Davis tried to give him a massive discount of about 70%. Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, said, hell no, that's not going to happen. But it seems like Davis still wants Brady to be involved, and many people are wondering, was Brady involved in the firing of Josh McDaniels, who he worked with for several years while he was the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots? We will never know that information. There's been people who have said that Tom Brady is definitely never going to reveal that information, but we know Mark Davis is listening to these guys and a couple of other guys who are close to Brady, according to Amy Trask, a former CEO of the Raiders during Al Davis's time.
In any event, he does have outside advisors. Jim Gray, with whom Jim Gray, who I just mentioned, has a connection with Tom Brady, is one of his very, very primary advisors. There are others, Ron Wolf, Ken Herrock, both of them have very strong football backgrounds. Mike Ornstein is an advisor, so he does have advisors outside the building.
The most notable person mentioned there is Jim Gray, because he has the Let's Go podcast with Tom Brady. So we know there's those other outside advisors who Mark Davis is listening to, but you got Brady and Jim Gray. That's two people in Brady's camp who Mark Davis is listening to. So what is Mark Davis looking for in his next head coach? You have CBS, that same reporter, Jonathan Jones, having an article here which says that Mark Davis is looking for a player-centric head coach rather than going with somebody who was the offensive X's and O's guy like Josh McDaniels. Keep in mind, Davis cannot interview head coaches until after the divisional round of the playoffs. He could interview GMs after the regular season, and even if he wants to go ahead and promote Champ Kelly and Antonio Pierce, the league requires him to do a comprehensive search after the season. So Mark Davis will have to decide what is going to happen with this next chapter of the Las Vegas Raiders. He will have Sandra Douglas Morgan in his ear, along with Tom Brady, and two old-time Raiders like Ken Herrock and Ron Wolf. Let me know your thoughts on what Mark Davis should do on his next head coaching search. My name is Wi-Fi Willie. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more NFL news content. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.